took me to the wall. It took me to the alt wall. It was interesting. Can't wait.
I wish I could show you my stuff. I didn't have it like on at that point.
Well, go get it.
Oh, actually,
No,
everything's alt wall now. I'm actually moving across country later this week. So
nice. Are you taking a covered wagon? Like, is it going to do like the Oregon Trail? How are you going to get?
Well, my wife is like, she's changing jobs, so they're going to cover like all the moving expenses, which is really nice.
Luka Nation, a little behind the scenes there. I hit record. Neither Kashik nor Cage realized, so they were still here, hee ha ha, getting to know each other. But this is going to be an episode you guys are going to love. This is one of those where you're kind of in a courtroom and it will be a little bit debate focused.
No way.
It's going to be debate driven. It might not be from your end, but from mine for sure. Because I have a lot of questions for the Iron Shik. Did I say that right? The Iron Shik?
Iron Shik.
Shik. USA, Canada, Hapui.
Yeah. So my nickname growing up was actually Shik. So
what kind of jabroni are you? You don't know what the Iron Shik is.
Well,
I'm calling you.
This is a side note. You probably don't want to put this into your episode, but essentially,
too late.
Kids are mean, and so my name is Cow Shik. Cow like the razor, cow like the animal. Shik like the razor, and so kids miss it. Like pretty much started calling me Cow Shit growing up. So kids are mean, so I changed my name completely to Cow Shik. So then my nickname became Shik, and then not a lot of relevance to the wrestler. But essentially, just so you guys know, that's why my name is the Iron Shik. I was like, let's go with something with my nickname, and let's put it out there.
There you go.
Kids
Iron Shik. Well, listen, my name is Matt. Body. So people call me Fat Matt.
They call me Fat.
It actually is a really amazing restaurant here in Atlanta called Fat Matt.
Yeah, if my name was Matt, but call me Cage. You can rhyme a whole bunch of stuff with Cage too. Andrew. What do they call you?
Dude, I was always a big body, believe it or not, and they always called me fat. And it always loves
Fat Matt? They called you Fat Matt?
They didn't call me Fat Matt. Oh. But we'll get into the origin story. I always love to get to know like the person behind the collector. But we've done 805 episodes. Probably, let's say 300 of those were guests. Wow. Not a single one of those was like, hey, I have a topic that I want to discuss. You're the only one who's come on, and I love that initiative. So you want to talk about record sales and what that means, and how can you be smarter as a collector in 2022, right? Those were the two biggies, and we'll get into the origin.
What about the third one?
What was the third one?
Cane's, Popeyes, or Chick-fil-A? What's the better chicken sandwich?
Oh, God. Okay.
It's Chick-fil-A.
I live in Atlanta. Right? Like I live in like the home of.
That's what I know the answer because you're in Atlanta. Yeah. Because there are people out there who do not agree with that. There are people who do not agree, and they are wrong. Good. So, Andrew, record prices. Sounds like we're jumping right into it. Record prices.
Why? Before we even get into your take on it, prices, why was that relevant to you today? Was it because Alt bought 4 rookie quarterbacks, 1 of 1 black? Like, why was that the topic that you were interested in?
Yeah, so, I've been in the hobby for about 12, 13 years now. And so real small time for many years, just, $5 flips, grocery money, maybe rent money. And then now it's just like a whole new realm of investment money, thanks to COVID, I guess. But I think what is so intriguing to me is how when we were going through the presidential election, there was so much miseducation. And I think we're now entering an era of miseducation in sports cards. And that is one of the reasons why I am kind of like record pricing. We hear
wait. Hobby fake news? Are we talking about hobby fake news?
No, not the sales are fake. The sales are real, but the way that you should perceive the sale.
Ooh.
Okay.
Ooh, I'm excited. Yeah. Go ahead.
So, go ahead. Ask a question if you have one.
Oh, my question is, if the sale is real, what's fake?
The ability that you think your card should also increase to the same multiplier.
So it's perception.
Yes.
Right? You have reality and you have perception. So what people perceive to be the case is wrong. They see these sales and they automatically assume, okay, well, if that Herbert sold for that price, well, then my Herbert or my quarterback should sell for this multiple. If that Herbert sold for $1.8 million, then my Burrow is worth just as much, or my Herbert that's a similar one should have the same kind of multiple, right? Everybody has their own way of that.
And Cage, like, let's take your example of what you're talking about. Let's go pre-COVID into an era where, I guess 130 Point and eBay were where we were finding our items. If you paid Terapeak, you could go to Terapeak, or the best one that is the secret sauce, which is word of mouth private. That's the one really where you can make a lot of bank if you know the private sales that occur. So there's been creative pricing in this industry for a long time. And I think creative pricing should exist to some degree, right? Like there are certain cards you're going to pay up for it because it's a special card, or maybe forget the comps on that. You are just wanting that card in your collection. Maybe you want to flip it. Maybe you want to hold it. There is a form of creative pricing. So in that, right, there's record pricing now that's being put all over the place by different companies, different social media platforms. But just because you see one player's record price go on does not mean that your base Prism PSA 10 is going to also increase in price. Or your Prism color that you have that's a Mojo PSA 10 is going to increase in price. You need bidders and you need people that want the card, and all it takes is two people. And if you have two people vying for a high-end card, they're just, that price could be 25% higher than, what it could be without that second bidder to keep vying back and forth. So I just want to put it out there that, maybe when people report record prices, I'm talking a little bit less corporate and more social. There's maybe an added incentive to also talk about those prices. And that added incentive is maybe they have a big position in that player.
Can I go through a term definition and then we'll go into like card collecting 201 or 301? You mentioned creative pricing. So by the way,
title of the episode,
Luka Nation, the amount of people that have requested Iron Sheik to be on, and the number of people that speak highly of you taking time out of your day to answer DMs and help and educate people is through the roof. So whatever you're doing, hat off to you because people speak very highly of you. So this is going to be an amazing episode. So what is creative pricing? What is that?
Because I didn't hear creative pricing there.
Yeah,
what I heard was, I know he said it, but what you talked about after you said, okay, there's a degree of creative pricing. What I heard was there's a discrepancy between really low pop and rare cards and a level below that really low pop. Because when you have those 1 of 1s or golds or out of 5s or just real rare cards, all it takes is a little bit of a bidding war or one person who needs to have that card, and the price becomes what it is, and that's not going to trickle down per se to stuff that there's more supply of, because 1, 2, or 3 people just having to have that card can drive up something that there's only 1, 2, or 3 of, but it won't trickle down to something that there's 10 of or 25 of or 99 of or that kind of stuff. That to me is just really, that's supply and demand. There's nothing really creative pricing about that. I guess what you mean maybe with the creative is that you can get creative in how you price those rare things because there's so much demand up there in the top.
Well, creative pricing is more subjected to private sales.
Okay.
So the way I'm feeling about that, and I probably went a little too far below, but essentially I think the most common investor or collector, they don't have like $25,000 cards. They have cards that could be like $1,000 or less, or could be $5,000 or less. So this is more towards the people that have very expensive rare cards. So if I have a very expensive rare card and it does not sell anywhere, there's not like a comp for me to lever on what that price could be. It's kind of like my card, my price, right? And then you hear a lot of backlash of like people putting, oh, why are they putting the price so high? They're allowed to do what they want. But I think what I'm trying to state to you is using other cards that have had record sales to think that your rare card is also now up. And that is not always the case.
Okay.
So
that's what I feel.
There's a group of young collectors who, in a way, I've seen, and tell me if you agree or disagree, and maybe this doesn't tie in at all, but I feel like it does. There's a group of young collectors down here in South Florida with a financier who are huge into quarterbacks. And they love cornering the market by getting the one of ones, the one of fives of all the young quarterbacks from basically 2018 and on, right? And then they set record sales of comparable quarterbacks, and then they sell the other assets into that hype of their previous sale.
I mean, I don't know that for a fact. Do you know that for a fact?
I don't know anything for a fact.
Yeah.
Okay, this is Andrew.
Okay, but I get what you're saying. So you take one sale, and then it brings up everything else, and then you get profits on the previous sale.
I have a Herbert Shield. It just sold for 1.3. Kyler and Tua have a good game. So here's my one of one Tua and my one of one Kyler. It's now $270K if the Herbert's 1.3.
Got it. And so all the Herberts that are really expensive are going to rise because they see this record sale. So therein lies a very interesting concept. And I'm going to go a little deep here. So it just kind of so I'll give you an example of my collection. I'm down to under a dozen cards. Like I have a PC, and then I have a dozen cards that are like my high-end babies, whatever. That's just what I have right now. I had hundreds of cards.
Are you going to be posting a Christmas tree of the cards? This is mandatory.
Maybe if I take the pictures from my alt vault, because nothing is with me because I did not want to move across country with any of them. But yes, I always post a Christmas tree every single year. But my collection size is dictated on my ability to buy, sell, trade. So if I don't have a lot of time in my personal life, I will consolidate as much as I possibly can. And then I will start selling off a couple assets to bring it back up and open the volume so that I could, enjoy the hobby more. So what I'm trying to say there is when you have these record sales and then you have all the other cards that go up behind it, the thing that's going in the back of my mind is, do I have enough time to think of this as either a short-term or a long-term opportunity? If you think it's a short-term opportunity, then you should buy it and then see if you can flip it. If you think it's a long-term opportunity, then I'm going to start, considering some other options. I'm going to start looking at other players. I'm going to start understanding the multiples. And I'm going to do a lot of different math, which I probably shouldn't do because sometimes we go too far into the analytics. But essentially, I learned the hard way. I can't chase the movement. I just got to stay in my lane. That's just me. But it was a lesson that I learned the hard way. I lost a lot of money on certain stuff because I kept on chasing it and it exploded. And I thought it was going to keep exploding and it didn't.
Can you share one example that comes to mind?
Yeah. I mean, I had a pretty decent sized position in Trae Young. I'm from Atlanta. It's very easy to move Trae Young cards. It's like, I just kept on thinking he's going to, after the conference finals is like, he's going to become like the next Steph Curry kind of player. And maybe a little bit of it was just obviously always seeing Trae Young. Everywhere I go in the city, all you see is Trae Young. And so that kind of played to it. Also the ability for me to liquidate Trae Young whenever I want in this city, it probably countered to it. And then I got to the point where I was like, well, they're not as good as what they were last year. I gotta have to kind of hedge my bet here. And I need to take some position off.
This is my brother. We basically are living parallel lives. So the one thing maybe I got the privilege of, and I'll introduce to you, is mentorship. So I think exactly like you. I'm like, Jamar Chase, he's going into the season. The Bengals got to the Super Bowl. Him and Burrow have this combination. I'm going to buy Jamar Chase all summer. He's going to have a better season this year than he did last year. Mm-hmm. So I call up my buddy. like, hey, I have a brilliant idea here. He's like, here we go again. I was like, I'm buying Jamar Chase. He's like, what? Why would you buy Jamar Chase? You buy Justin Jefferson. Jamar Chase has all the expectations in the world, and he's expensive. Justin Jefferson was Jamar Chase just a year before. Everyone forgot about him.
And you could buy 4 of them for the price of one, and after week 1, sell it for the same price.
I said, you're a moron. Bye. And I bought a ton of Jamar Chase. Well, what happened week 1? They both had fantastic games, but the expectations, like you mentioned with Trae Young after that conference final, was higher than, oh, this guy didn't do anything last year. So it's very counterintuitive, and you have to learn the hard way. Cage, you could kind of take this home because Cage was the one I called. By the way, I don't have that many friends. I have one.
My question is, I mean, obviously, look, you're always moving your stuff around. You said a lot there. I have probably half dozen questions for you. But number one is, you were hopeful that Trae Young was going to become the next Steph Curry. Well, Steph didn't become Steph in 3 years. And, mirror that with the comment you made about, like, I'm going to look at an opportunity, and if it's a short-term opportunity, I'm going to take it, I'm going to flip it. But if it's a long-term opportunity, I'm going to look at something else. So now you have 2 data points in the last 5 minutes where
let me clarify.
Yeah, please.
Yeah. So I collected Steph Curry like 2013, 2014, and he was pennies. He was I kept on getting pissed off at the screen every time. Like, you would turn the TV on and the guy would roll his ankle. It was that bad. It was so bad he was missing half season. And I'm
People forget that.
I'm like, this guy has everything. He's going to do it. The difference is everyone cares about internal rate of return. So how fast is that investment going to, grow? The thing is, Steph Curry was not having a fast IRR, but Trae Young exploded. And I kept on thinking to myself, I don't want to hold the bag. I don't want to hold the bag. And so this guy can't be priced, like, he can be priced higher, like Luka's priced higher than so many legends, right?
Cal, here's the problem, right? So you've already nailed the issue with all modern cards, I believe, right? And we'll get to it in a second with the creative pricing, but you're the older guys that we compare him to, just use yours, right? Like Trae, I invested in Trae because I thought he was going to be Steph. So the thing is, Trae is 10% of the player that Steph is, but his prices ran to 80% of the player that Steph is. So the ability to continue to make money on it was just not there. You have to take it off the table. It's not just Steph and Trae. It's literally everyone now, because that's the quote unquote bubble that we have with the market, whether it's Trey Lance in an ambulance, whether it's Trevor Lawrence, it's Mac Jones, it's any of these young quarterbacks.
While Lamar is sitting there right to their left, who's been forgotten.
Because people were buying Lamar hoping that he was going to be the next Tom Brady or whatever it is. And then when the first sign that he wasn't, everybody dumped and moved on to the next thing. And that's an unsustainable thing. And I think really what we're talking about here, it's a little dangerous, right? Because these things almost can't pay off. And what Cal's talking about, two things I have issues with. And I'll tell you my issues, I'll shut up and I'll let you address them, right? Issue number one is the type of investment that you're talking about. And I'm going to say investment because you're talking about investing. That is, this is not collecting. If you're going to come on and say, if you present me with a long-term opportunity, I'm going to look for other short-term investing opportunities and look for a better ROI on my short-term stuff. This is not collecting anymore. This is now a business. This is now investing. How old are you,
just for reference, real quick?
I'm 34. Invest to collect, just so you know. That's
okay. Me. All right. So and that's fine. So the problem with it now is that the type of investment you're doing does become a zero-sum game, right? These cards that someone's buying, your plan would be buying it with an eye towards a return. It's not buying it with an eye towards, I'm going to save this, I'm going to collect this. You're buying it with an eye towards selling it for more money to someone else. And ultimately, that has to stop at some point, right? So that's number one issue I have, and I think it's going to cause some real issues, some real ripple effects in the hobby. I think we're seeing it already with Trey Lance. A lot of people are going to lose a lot of money, and I'm sure that's not the only one. You don't have to get hurt for your card value to go down. Yeah. The second part, which I think it might even be the bigger one, is it almost sounds like data is the enemy of what you're trying to do on the high side. And Andrew had an episode maybe 40, 50 episodes ago where he was talking about creative pricing without realizing he was talking about creative pricing. And it was, hey, I'm trying to sell this card. It's a pretty rare card. I think it was out of 50. And it was a PSA 10 and it was pop like 4, whatever it was, right? And he bought it for a bargain, but he bought it on a public site. He bought it on a site where the data is being pulled. Card Ladder has it. It's now out there in the universe, and that limits his ability to be creative with it. The pricing on that card is now non-fiction instead of fiction or creative, whatever word you want to use. And what happened is he went to go sell that card because he got it for a bargain. He got it for half what the prior price was, and every single person said, no. The last sale on this was $500.
Can we talk about that for a second? Can we talk about that for a second?
Yeah, sure. But I guess really what so I'll let you have it. But why this scares me is that I think data, for the most part, is a good thing. I think it will allow real investment money from venture capital, Wall Street types, you name it, to come in and actually invest in this market where the data is nonfiction, where we know what things are worth. And I find it funny when people come on and tell me, hey, I bought this card. Oh, yeah, what'd you pay? I can't tell you what I paid for it. I will never tell you what I paid for it, because if I tell you what I paid for it, then I can't get what I want when I sell it. That, to me, it's laughable, but it is what you're preaching. So shoot.
So I want to give you a little history about me. So I have a background in supply chain, and I worked for a pretty big company prior to working for Alt. And in that, I was in charge of forecasting for our products on Amazon. So my background is just, understanding customer orders, not talking about monetized money, but based on how promotions run, when our customers like, Costco, etc., Amazon, etc., are going to reorder the product. So that's my background. So now I'm going to Alt, and I know a lot of you have heard Alt Value, right? And we're talking about how everything is now more accessible. Before it was all fragmented. I think that's the best word. Now at least there are a couple platforms like Card Ladder, Alt, etc. You can see all the comps, etc. So I'm gonna be like, you're gonna see a lot more content from me after I get through this move. But essentially, I'm on a mission to tell people that the last print is not the price. And I'm on a mission for that. And that's coming straight from the business world and how we look at what is the last sale / print. Because this is the truth. If a card sells 400, 400, 700, hell yeah, I'm going to the show and be like 700 is my comp. Card sells 700, 400, 700, 700, 400, you're never going to bring that last price up. So what I'm trying to tell you is people will use the last print to their own advantage. And you cannot just say your last print is this in this scenario, but then not say it in a scenario that's unfavorable to you. So what I'm trying to show people is the last print is not the market value of a price sometimes. Sometimes that last print can be an outlier. And that's something that people should see.
But I think most people use more than just one print. You know what I mean? When look, if it uses 700, 400, right? If I bring that card to a show, the dealer is going to try to use the 400 price. And I'm going to say, no, look at the two before it was 700 and probably settle somewhere in the middle there or higher towards the 700. And it's part of but those data points tell you, with enough data, what the quote unquote value would be on it, right? I mean, you wouldn't just use one.
But you're not going to go to the dealer telling him the 700, 700, 400. You're definitely going to the dealer telling him 400, 400, 700. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, you're going to use it if
you don't know me.
Your advantage. I mean, maybe not you, but I'm just telling you, this is my 2 cents.
I writes a number on a piece of paper. There's like a little like asterisk, like if you don't accept this,
I don't hide from the data.
I will.
I don't think you do, but I'm just saying that, like, I think that we moved to just one print for some reason, one sale. I don't know why. I think that's unconventional. I honestly think that they don't do that in other fields. And I think they do that here because we are just now getting introduced to all the data, to be honest.
You know why in this field? Because everybody wants to be creative, even on non-rare cards. Exactly. So yes, you can have creative pricing on a one of one because there's no price, but also on the ones where there are prices, people still want to be creative. It's like, yeah, the last print was 400, but You look at that one. That's an ugly card, or that one's off center. Or even though it's a PSA 10, they should have graded it a 9. And look at the 3 prices before that. They were all 800, 900, 900. That's the real it allows for storytelling, but at least storytelling backed by data. I mean, everybody wants to be creative. It's what makes this ridiculous hobby so much fun.
People are so amazing at rationalization in this hobby. It's crazy to me. It's fun to watch sometimes. I'm just sitting there. I'm just like, man, I love this story, but I'm not buying it.
So I do have a question. Let me come back to it.
Storytelling.
What would episode 1 be of the last comp isn't the next comp? But before that, I think humans think in binary, like one or the other. But I think it's more of a Venn diagram. I think what confuses new entrants into the hobby is some cards, like 1-of-1 cards, trade like art, where base and silver cards trade like stocks. And then it's a spectrum versus those are the only two. Mm-hmm. That's what I've seen. Like I've seen bases very stockish. Like the last price is the last price on a Zion base prism within 10-20%. Those are the most liquid cards in there. But then the 1-of-1s trade like art does, and then there's the spectrum. I'd love for you guys to refute that, agree with that, poke holes in that theory, because that's how I've started seeing it now.
That goes along with speed, inventory turnover on speed. That's really what that's about, more so than anything. Like I will pay less than comp on a Zion-based prism because I know I'm gonna move in like a couple weeks. But a 1-of-1 art piece, I'm probably not moving that in a couple weeks. That's just not my philosophy, but I know we've been seeing that in the hobby quite a bit. Like if I get a really rare piece, I wish I could show you guys some of these rare pieces I have in my collection, but they're like that. They're like, I have an MJ Fleer sticker, PSA 6 Auto 10 that I bought publicly on eBay last year because I went to the Dallas show and people were like, $25K for this MJ on-card pack pulled auto, $25K. And I'm like calling my buddies that I started the hobby with. I was like, I'm getting offered the most garbage MJ Chicago Bulls on-card autos for $25K. I can't pay $25K for that. I got to look for a different solution. So I got the Fleer sticker on-card auto, PSA 6 Auto 10. And I'm thinking that is, MJ didn't sign any rookies. I'm probably going to keep that as a long-term card for many, many years.
I have a theory. Cage, can you tell me if you agree, disagree with this? So does alt have extended bidding in Liquid?
They do. They do.
So does Golden PWC. I think a really interesting way to understand value is how many bidders you have in the last minute of bidding. So if that's eBay, how many bidders you have in the last minute, or if in extended bidding, how many bidders you have. I think some sort of math equation should be done. Tell me if you could disagree, you could poke holes in this, but that shows how many people are willing to pay X dollar for this asset.
Maybe. I mean, it just depends also on the platform that people are comfortable with and different kind of payment methods too, right? eBay takes like credit cards. So
yeah, but if in the last minute there's 10 bidders versus in the last minute there's 2 bidders, I know that there's 8 more people that are willing to pay that same exact price for that card. So it either is perfectly valued or even undervalued. Versus if there's 2 bidders at the end or even just one, that might have just been an auction that went high, and the next one might end for half that amount.
I think what he's saying is that it's still disjointed. There's still so many places. Like, for example, you're not going to know what I want to bid on by looking at alt because I've never logged into alt in my life. I've never bought something with alt. I've never deposited $1 with alt. I've never used alt. So I could be a buyer on a lot of things, but they're never going to capture that on that data. It's still very disjointed. You know what I mean?
So I'm glad you guys bring that up. I want to talk about something. All right. So by the way, there's no depositing for alt right now. If you want to buy on Liquid Auction, you pay for it after you win the card. And
you have to link a bank account or something first, though, right?
You have to link a bank account before you can bid, but that's like almost like
I'm off the grid.
You use PayPal?
Cage is loyal to PwC.
You don't buy on eBay? You don't buy on eBay?
I got an eBay issue. I got one of the sellers trying to give me back half my money. It's ridiculous.
Today actually we introduced a product. We introduced a product where if you have a vaulted asset with us, we actually list it also on eBay. So you can actually purchase the card. You can come to Alt and purchase it for cheaper, or you can buy it on eBay. So, but it's listed on both platforms, and just ability to get more eyeballs on your product. So
interesting.
That's something we introduced today.
Weird. I every time I deal with eBay, I deal with eBay so infrequently. Every time I do, I'm so mad that I went back. I dipped my toes back in that pool. Oh, I want to just delete the eBay app.
But but once it's bought, though, you don't handle shipping. You don't have to worry about any of that. We handle all of it. So,
gosh, why does that creative pricing, the last comp isn't this comp? Why does, because Alt created their own value, right? Alt value, like. Why does that? Where does that core kind of like passion come from? Is there a reason it developed?
Are you talking about alt value in general, or are you talking about me with pricing?
Like, yeah, your philosophy. Like, we've done a lot of episodes. No one has come on and been that passionate about, last comp is the future comp.
I was telling my wife, I was like, I don't even know how I got into this like role again, but essentially, I think I like it, and I think I think truthfully, right? There is a data part, and then there is a part where you are making a choice, and your data may not support your choice. So this is the truth. There's a lot of analysts out there in the world that can look at a lot of data, put it all on a spreadsheet, make it look pretty. But the people that get paid the most are the ones that can tell that data to any audience really easily. That is the truth. The people that can explain data easily are the ones that get paid the most. I'm not talking about me. I'm just saying in general, though, that's what I'm trying to tell you is data storytelling needs to have purpose and needs to not have too much over complications. So I don't know why I'm invested in it, but my wife essentially told me it's because you care about consumer psychology. And I'm like, what do you mean? And I was like, because you have been talking to me, even when we were dating, that you were interested to see if a company figure out what you're going to buy before you even knew what you were going to buy. And so I was like, and maybe that's why I like pricing. Maybe that's why I like understanding, like if something needs to be in the right range, like, can there be promise? It is a barrier or not a barrier entry. It's guardrails for you to make a decision. And that's what I believe Alt's trying to create with alt value.
So there's a great guy for all you guys that are interested in this. I'm also interested in what I call behavioral psychology. There's a professor out of Duke. His name is Dan Ariely. I recommend you guys go listen. It's really fascinating. But an example of that, if you have 3 sizes at Chick-fil-A, small, medium, large, by where you put the price of the medium option, you could dictate which people will more likely buy. So let's say it's $2, $4, and $5. If you price things out like that, well, I'll probably just get the large. If it's $4 for medium, I'll probably get. But if it's $2, $3, and $7, you're probably going to push people towards the medium or the small. So it's just by pricing things. It's very fascinating how you can already predict over a large enough sample size what people will buy.
And just so you guys know, like, because I don't think a lot of people know about this in the pricing that we do, it's a combination of a model and a human input. So it requires both, because there are so many cards that are so tough to price. And so essentially there's human like corrections happening also to go along with the model. So it's a combination of both. And that's kind of how I feel artificial intelligence is. I don't think like you're going to go to work and the robot's going to do everything for you. I never believed that. And whoever wrote that was watching iRobot, the movie, way too much. But essentially, I always feel like it's a combination of the system giving you a chance to make decisions. And that's what I feel all these tools that you're seeing now, people are very educated when they go to a show. They're like, at the National, there was no internet. And guess what? Some people loved it. Some people were like, we're back to the old school game. We're going to do it. Nobody knows what anything's worth, but I do.
You're in my world now, bitch. Cage is thinking, why are you guys overcomplicating cards?
I mean, listen, the people who did the work ahead of time really made out well. The people who knew their stuff, knew what they wanted and knew what they wanted to take in, did well in national. We talked to a lot of them. Yeah, man. I mean, listen, this is an interesting topic of conversation because I can make arguments for both sides, and it never sits right with me when somebody's like, "I just bought this card, and I'm going to spend the next 6 months weaving a tale about it, so that I am going to basically storytell value into this card." But it works.
That's marketing, though.
That's marketing.
Right?
Yeah, it's marketing.
What do you think of the star card hitting the market?
That's one of the biggest marketed cards out there right now.
Don't touch it. Let it all go. Let it go. The pop is going to explode. Let them rise. I mean, listen, if you have enough money to go after like a BGS 9.5 or a PSA 10, you're probably, who knows, that could probably explode, maybe even to a different level in price. But everything else, I would let it be. Like, the pop is going to explode.
Yeah. Someone's going to say there's 3,000 sets. The PSA pop report one day will be at like 3,500. Because there's more than people realize, I think. But anyway, it is what it is.
I've been a staunch supporter of alt from almost day one. We've had Lior a few times.
Where is Lior? I haven't seen that dude. Where is he?
Where in the world is Lior? He was in Israel for a minute, in Miami for a minute.
He's in New York.
I don't see him anymore. Is that like on purpose? Are we keeping the wizard behind the curtain for a reason?
No, Lior reached out when we did the National Treasure series. He thanked us. He said it was a good series. They really enjoyed it.
Oh yeah, it was nice seeing Lior at National, just like, you know, making deals, talking to people.
Do you feel that alt has gotten a bad rap in the last year or two?
So I joined last November. So now I've been there for about 8 months or so. Maybe no, 10 maybe. But I think like from when I joined to where it is now, there's been quite a bit of improvement and even adoption. I think a little bit was we're the new kids on the block. Let's not sugarcoat it. We are the new kids on the block, and a lot of people have questions about a lot of the things that we're doing. And so I think one of the things that I feel like, and take this from me, like I went from a big company to a startup. And so when I'm in the startup, I'm like, you know, you're almost like an internal consultant. Like you're doing so many different things to make sure that everything goes correctly. What I seem to understand now is I think some of the people that I'm working with now, they are like, they embrace that so-called, you know how sometimes like no one will talk about it, but they embrace that underdog status that they're like, we're gonna do it. Like we're gonna make it. And the truth is,
number 2.
I don't even think they care about number, because the whole point is like, we just have to keep improving. And I think in all my career, working with anybody, if you have that drive, then it just becomes contagious internally. It becomes contagious. Like we can achieve everything. We can achieve anything. And maybe it'll take some time. And I think it's fair because we've only been around for 2 years.
Well, that was Carlos Alcaraz's motto, and he won the U.S. Open. You are one of the buyers of the $3,000 Alcaraz card. Explain to me your psychology.
So,
and the psychology of someone who's buying now.
Yeah. Okay. Two-headed storm here, a two-headed dragon. Tennis is my first love. I played tennis competitively for 15 years. So I actually not invested, because I wasn't investing in cards probably until like 2017. I was buying like Federer cards. I used to have a Federer and Sampras duel on card, because I felt in 2013 when I bought it, they were going to be 1 and 1A. Federer had won like 12 championships at that point. Sampras had like 15, whatever that he had won. I'm like, this is going to be it. Like, these are going to be the guys. I bought it for like $100 at some St. Louis show or whatever. So I've been a proponent of tennis cards for a long time, then sold them all. And then I'm like, why am I not buying what I like? And so I just started getting this whole like nostalgia feature of like watching Serena say goodbye. And I'm like, I got to get back in this. Like, this is not me even promoting. Like, I've even posted a couple times, forget about the cards, watch the player. Forget the cards, watch the player. And so Carlos Alcaraz came up, and one thing I didn't like about it was I wish it was pack pulled. So it wasn't pack pulled. NetPro released it on their website, and they listed all the 3,000 copies that you could get. And I've been watching tennis for a long time. And what kind of drew me to this guy was I was watching like a tournament earlier this year when he was on clay, and he was just giving it to Nadal. And I was just like, oh shit, like, okay, this is good. It's like, but it's probably just like one time. Like, this is going to be it. Next day, he's giving it to Djokovic, and he's beating him in straight sets. And I'm sitting here, I'm like, who has done that? And, you know, when I looked it up, he's the only player to ever beat Nadal and Djokovic in a clay court tournament ever. And so I was like, maybe this guy could be onto something. Let's keep watching him. Watched him in Wimbledon a little bit too. And then I was just like, I was going to buy like the $750 card when it came out. And then I just said, let's just go with the best. You know, like, you believe in the guy. You think he's going to win multiple majors. Let's just buy it. And so I paid the $3,000. It got shipped to my house. It's on the PSA right now. And the card has exploded because he won US Open. If he didn't win, I don't think it would have exploded.
So do you think there's a shot that he goes on and goes to 23 straight slam semifinals?
Maybe not, but he's more exciting to watch, I think, than a lot of players. We've not seen a player like him in 20 years.
The Fed cards you bought, how much are those worth now?
The Fed card, I don't know. They don't sell publicly.
You didn't want to look up what like Federer and Sampras cards sell for before. I mean, there are plenty of Federer cards and Sampras cards. I mean, you can, even if you wanted to get creative pricing with them, you can kind of figure out what they're worth.
Are you talking about like Federer rookie?
Yeah, I'm talking about comparable cards, you know, of Fed, and then say to yourself, I just paid $3,000 for this guy. Did I just buy Trey Lance?
Oh no, I knew buying this I'd overpaid. I knew.
Okay. All right, cool. I mean, listen, you go in with your eyes wide open. That's a very different story than most.
$3,000 for a guy that hasn't won a thing. Are you kidding me? Like, you know, he could, you know, hurt himself, and then that's it. That was the story of Carlos Alcaraz, and so I took the chance because I personally felt, if healthy, he's winning 5 minimum. And
see, I take this stuff so differently. Like, I would just go and say, all right, if people are paying $3,000 for this Strunz, I'm going to go out there. I'm going to buy a whole bunch of Sampras. I'm going to buy, you know, Federer and Djokovic. I'm going to go out and buy their cards. I could buy.
Cage. No, don't ruin my don't ruin my plans, Cage.
That's all right. Well, yeah, I mean, I don't know why people don't do that. You know,
like I said, I just got back into tennis, Cage. So I'm trying to I'm going to try to build a whole collection in tennis. So I don't know what it is, guys, but I get bored. And so this is how I know I like sports cards. I went from basketball, football. Then I had a stint with soccer. Then I had a stint with F1. Now I'm having a stint with tennis. It's not even about profit. It's really just like, I like cards. So I'm just going to do it.
Well, I think, you know, it's funny. The two of you guys are talking about Duke. Andrew is actually the mascot of Duke, so it's funny he talked about Duke, you know, Kentucky, you guys, behavioral psychology and all this other fun stuff. And what I think everybody forgets is the human trait that people bring to the hobby that I've noticed the most, that I think burns more people than anything else, is people want to be right first. People want to say, I was on Davis Mills when he was worth nothing. Like, yeah, I was one of the people who bought the Alcaraz, and I paid $3,000 for it. Like, of course I was. You know, I'm first. I was right. Like, that's almost worth more to the psyche than anything else. And I think it probably is going to cause people to get burnt more than anything else. So
maybe. But I think there are some people that are the opposite because they're just all about their money and they just want to get their money. But I will tell you this: I'd rather be right than get the profit.
Well, NetPro knew that. And their tiny little audience all over the place, they knew that. And they, instead of working with collectors, They made collectors hold a big bag.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see. 3,000. Alcaraz may be Bill and Ted. He may play the music that saves the world and brings about world peace. He may be the tennis player that sets all the records.
But here's the thing. I grew up in a town of 10,000 people my whole life. I was so far away from seeing any sports venue. Literally, probably like 3-4 hour drive. I never saw any professional sports growing up. Like, cards was just a way for me to like get into it, whether it was like Pokemon or Mark McGuire cards as a kid or anything like that. So like for me, I don't know. I would love to go watch Carlos Alcaraz live, but it's almost like I'm paying a cost to root for the guy. It's almost like I love the card so much. So I was like, I would root for him. You know,
listen, no matter what, we're talking about $1 million cards. We're talking about pricing. We're talking about data. We're talking about supply chain. You know, at the root, it sounds like you really are just a fan of the hobby and you enjoy it. I will tell you, as someone who did recently see Alcaraz play live, he plays faster than anybody. He played significantly faster than anybody else who was playing. I don't know how long he can keep that up for. I hope he stays healthy and and all that other fun stuff. It's great to be 19.
He kind of plays like Federer, to be honest with you. He kind of plays
but Federer was not as strong and played more effortlessly. Like Federer did more without sweating. This kid is
the hair got you, man. You seeing the wavy hair on his shots. That's why it looks effortlessly. That guy was built like a truck.
Yeah, I mean it's probably right.
He's a pedigree. His grandpa and his dad played at a very high level. He's like one of those kids that's groomed from like when he's 2 years old. He's not like you're gonna go to Harvard. It's like you're gonna be the best tennis player of all time, and they grew. He's a Tiger Woods. He's the Tiger Woods, so to speak, of tennis. And
so about this Alcaraz, right? This Alcaraz.
Yeah, right? Alcaraz's grandpa and his dad has the pedigree, and they trained him from a very young age. My concern is because our Luka Nation, they know I've been a huge fan of Alcaraz since maybe a year. My concern is people losing money to the high price point and not making it fun. Like, why not make it pack pulled? Why not add a little gamesmanship to it? Like, because here's what happens. I know a few accounts, and I'm not going to call them out, but like they bought up like 20, 30, 50, 100 of these, right? Yeah. They're not collectors. They're just going to dump those on the market for profit.
Agreed.
And collectors like you are going to be seeing your card, which went 3,000 to 10,000 back to 3,000, and be like, well, I love him. And I do really, really enjoy the card.
I mean, listen, $20,000 is almost like we're gonna get 7x like in 2 weeks. It's kind of hard. It's kind of hard to do that. But I will
think anybody actually did.
Yes.
Well, I found out a few.
You know the buyer and the seller.
I know the seller, multiple.
Well, Cage, do you know what happened
at 21?
So we have a few of our Luka Nation. So we have a few Luka Nation people who bought the cards, but they still haven't had them delivered. Yeah. So some cards have been delivered, but some aren't. So you have this artificially low supply.
The more expensive ones got delivered, and then the other ones, the ones out of 2,000 and 5,000 or 500, they're just getting delivered now. But I didn't buy another card. I only bought this one card. None of the $100 cards, none of the 50. I just said I was talking to somebody. I was like, maybe I'll get like 4 or 5 of the mid-range. And then they're like, you're already spending this much. Just go for it and get the out of 50 RPA. So I said, okay, fine. So I didn't buy another card, just that one. And when Serena was saying goodbye, Cage, I was like, I got to go back to my GOAT. I got to go get a card of my GOAT. And so I negotiated a deal, and I posted on my page. I don't know if you saw it.
Navratilova.
Federer.
Federer.
So no. I posted.
I love it. Listen, with the hype that Alcaraz is getting, I mean, 21 is not even that crazy. I mean, there's 50 of them. Think about what people are paying for, for these quarterbacks and these young basketball players and the whole deal. I mean, this guy had all the hype in the world, just won the U.S. Open, 19 years old. I mean, well, nothing surprises me. Yeah.
Here's a question for you. Mm-hmm. Why do you think F1 exploded?
It was being pumped. But more importantly, I think it exploded because there was no product at all for a sport that had a set amount of demand. So there was supply, but that supply that came out was limited and much less than the demand that was out there. Then a second release came out, call it the Dynasty or whatever it was. And basically those came out and that there was more demand and probably an inflated demand because of some influencers and wherever else was going on that, where there were twice as many people looking for half as much product. But then the hobby does what the hobby does, and that is, first, at the same time, it's like an intersection. Those influencers, who are the ones who probably owned a lot of that high-end stuff, they were selling it to the people who were now rabid, and there wasn't a lot of supply out there. But two, at the same time, Topps comes out with a Sapphire release, a light release, another year's release. So now there's 2021 and 2022. And all of a sudden, people who, this demand out there to get a Lewis Hamilton card or a Lewis Hamilton autograph, in the beginning, there was this set number of them that you could get, and so many people wanting them that it inflates the price. Now you have this demand universe over here who says, all right, you know what? I don't have to buy the best Lewis Hamilton. I don't have to buy the best Max Verstappen. I can buy the second best, the third best, the one that Topps put out in the second year. And there's not as much people fighting for a limited supply. There's now a greater supply with less demand, and boom, it craters. It happens time and time again, and it will happen with tennis.
It will. But here's one thing that you left out in that whole discussion. F1 had ugly cards.
I mean, that's in the eye of the beholder. That's a cool looking card.
True. It is so true. Okay.
People love Sapphire.
Topps Chrome and Topps Chrome Sapphire are the best looking, and Dynasty are the best looking F1 cards ever to be created. Guess what the best looking tennis cards ever to be created are?
Anna Kournikova. Next question.
No, I mean, when just so you, I mean, some people won't like me saying this, but I'll say it. Topps Chrome Tennis is coming out.
Oh,
and
yeah,
when Topps
sure.
Chrome Tennis comes out, it's going to be the first ever Chrome of Serena Williams, of Roger Federer, Novak Djokovic, Rafael Nadal. So essentially, at the end of the day, the truth is, people pay for pretty cards. And that's what I really feel. Like, yeah, you need rarity. But if your card's not pretty, people aren't going to pay.
Arthur
pay.
That's it?
I think people pump pretty cards. Right, because the same thing happened with UFC and WWE. There were cards before Topps Chrome came out. There were cards, and there were cards before Prism. Hell, there was Topps Chrome UFC, which was a real nice looking card.
In 2012, right?
What's up? What did you say?
In 2012? Is that what you're talking about?
I mean, there was 2012 was Finest. I think Chrome came out in 13, if I'm not mistaken. 2012 had Knockout, which was sort of like a museum / dynasty type of product. I mean, there's some high end stuff, but when Prism came out, there was a combination of it's shiny and it's the first set and it's influenced, for lack of a better way of saying it. And I think the same thing will happen with tennis when Chrome comes out. And, you know, I mean, look at it. I'm a sucker for it myself, right? I mean, everybody loves PMGs and jambalayas and the whole deal. This metal release that came out, I'm about to open my 8th box of this crap.
Oh, wow. Did you hit anything good?
No. Unless you count a Star Ruby of a 15-year-old skateboarder. A PMG green of a Japanese car driver owner. I don't know who it is. I forget his name. But I hit that. I had a PMG green. But
you know, Cage, that's the first time I've ever heard someone say people pump pretty cards. I'm going to start thinking about that. I honestly never thought about it like that. Because I kept on thinking the price is because the card is pretty, not the other way around.
Well, look at the UFC as a perfect example, right? Because Topps Chrome was out. There was a decade of cards. When Prism came out, sure, people like Prism, but it was, you know, I mean, it's nice, it's shiny, and everybody was buying it. Wrestling, same thing. You know,
I don't know if people pump because it's pretty or not, but
I mean, now you're talking dirty to me, and I like it. But
what's Federer's rookie card? Not Net Pro, not the patch auto. What is his? Because he has like a few. He has like the gloss. He has at a 2000. What's his true rookie? Like, what do collectors believe is?
It's actually the Net Pro 03 Net Pro that looks just like the Alcaraz card.
Out of 2000.
It's out of 50, I believe.
That's the patch auto, right? That's like the RPA.
And then he has another one where he's in a red shirt and he's serving. And that one, he has a glossy version that's out of 100, but it's not serial numbered on the back. It just says 1 of 100.
Gotcha.
1 of 100.
And that's like a $2,000 card in a PSA 10?
The glossy version? No, they're probably 5 figures. There's one running right now on eBay out of 100.
Interesting.
Now you know I'm looking at better stuff. So
everybody's involved in tennis now. In my opinion, the absolute worst time to buy tennis is right now. Wait until the next major, and some no name wins it because Alcaraz takes it off to go and do whatever it is. And
also, like, what's the entry point right now? It's like nothing compared to some of the other stuff.
Your nothing is my something. I mean, if a Federer is 5 figures, that's a pretty high entry point.
No, but that's his best card. Okay, we're talking about the best card. If you want a Federer auto, you might be able to get one for like $800 to $1,200.
Yeah, you know, you get a Muhammad Ali auto for $250.
But he only has, I think, like I don't know how many autos he has, but it's not even in the thousands. Like I think he has maybe like 1,900 total autos. And
so this is going to be perfect. So I found the card. Here it is. It's the 2003 Net Pro Elite Glossy out of 100 Roger Federer PSA 10. It's ending Monday evening, September 19th. So this is airing Tuesday, September 20th. So you'll see it already ended. It's at $8,500 with 7 hours left. So you're good. This episode will air after the.
Oh, I'm not buying it. I just saw it. That's fine.
It's a nice card.
Very nice.
It irritates me that it's not stamped on the back, so I probably won't ever buy those.
So I mean, you're a little younger than me, but before they numbered cards, before they were actual serial numbered cards, that's what they used to do with cards. They would say this card is one of this. In the early 90s, a lot of like football inserts would say one of 3,000 or one of this or one of whatever it is. I mean, check out like the 92 Classic Force Sport is a great example. It has, you know, the Shaq rookie cards with his LSU uniform, the gold, say like one out of like 8,320. Like it's not actually serial number. That came a couple years later. So I don't really mind this as much. I mean, serial numbers are cool. But it does tell you there's 100 of them and you kind of know.
Yeah, it does tell you there's 100. You know, I kind of grew up kind of hating Roger Federer early on in his career because I was so America and I wanted Andy Roddick to beat him so badly. And he kept losing to him in the finals. And I grew this like semi little hatred being like, can you just like take a break, you know? And
I think Andy Roddick said something similar. He's like, you've won so many. Couldn't you just let me win this one?
I know.
They met in was that US Open final?
The Wimbledon final crushed me.
It
crushed me because it went 16-14 in the fifth set, and Roddick is the first ever loser of a finals to never break serve, to never have his serve broken. It's kind of nuts. But yeah.
Wow. You DM'd us. You said, I've got to get something off my chest. Let's say I'm a genie. I could grant you 3 wishes. What would they be? What would you want to change about the hobby? What would you want to... Yeah, I'll leave it open-ended. I know you could take it from here.
Yeah, so I think still to this day, there's one big problem that I don't know if we have the answer just yet. But I think we have a lot of barriers of entry to get into the hobby. I think it's quite difficult, actually. It's not as easy as like downloading Robinhood and buying stocks. It's actually quite difficult. And so there needs to be something where it makes it easy for them for anyone that has never been involved in sports cards to be like, I want to buy sports cards, whether it be for enjoyment or investment. That's a separate category. But I don't think right now there is an easy way to get people into the hobby. And I think the reason that we never talked about it was we saw such a surplus in 2020 and 2021. But guess what? We're now entering more normality. So the thing is, you have to get more people involved in order for it to progress. I'm not talking about the price. I'm just talking about engagement. I'm talking about other people learning about the cards, why we care about it. And it's kind of nuts. Like, I mean, you guys have all been there. For years, people would roll their eyes at me to be like, you're buying sports cards? Like, what are you, 8? You know, like
what player, what card, who grades it, where do you buy, where do you sell? You're absolutely right. The friction is, yeah.
Whereas it's a lot of effort. It's almost like you don't want to feel like, and then to go along with it, there's a lot of negativity that's out there. And so that negativity starts, like, if you're a new person, forget us. We're in it, right? We're like believers. And you're a new person and you want to make a card account on Instagram. And then you start adding some of the big names and you're probably fine. And then you start adding some other people. Then you start seeing scam, negative, which is fair. Those things do occur. But it brings on this persona that
cleaning cards, not cleaning cards. How much can you clean it? Can you wipe it down with a claw?
And if you're a new person, you're like, do I really want to be involved in making a mistake? And that is where you're like, I call it card familia. That's where they're so important. Your close knit group that helps you make decisions. If you don't establish that, that's my 2 cents to anybody that watches this and wants to get into cards. Go find yourself, like, go to a show, make some friends. It's really hard if you've never done it before online. It might be easier at a show in person, but go see if you can chat with people online. Get into some chat groups, understand how people are thinking. You need to make friends because you can't know everything. And they're the ones that are going to help you also help make a decision for whatever purpose that is, enjoyment, investment, etc.
I love it. It's like prison. The time I went, I knew right off the bat you gotta gang up or someone's gonna steal your pudding.
Prison Mike.
So I'm with
the
you.
Dementos, Prison Mike.
Prison Mike.
Yeah.
Dude, you know someone has an account called Prism Mike?
Oh, that's funny.
That's good, right?
No, listen, man, this has been fun. A lot of good. We will have you back on because there's a lot of good conversation here. And
we'll go less technical next time, Cage. Let's go less technical. I want to go more like the love of the cards. Like,
but it comes through. It comes through. It really does. I mean, it comes through when you talk about the stuff that you're buying and the whole deal. I mean, it comes across. Obviously, you have an analytical mind and you're investing in this stuff and you're working to, figure out a way to invest. But you're also obviously buying stuff that you love and not care about what the price is going to ultimately do, which is, that's a collector side. So,
I mean,
if I tried to paint
started out as a set collector, and I'm still a set collector. Let me see. I think I have my boxes here because
I am too, but it's a mistake.
This is the boxes of like some of the sets that I'm chasing. I don't know if you can read that.
Contemporary collector.
Yep. 2008 Upper Deck Radiance, 2003 Fleer Showcase, Bowman Gold, Topps Chrome Refractor. I'm chasing the whole Topps Chrome Refractor in PSA 10.
If you're not collecting Fleer and Flair Showcase, you're not a real collector. Who do you want to give
Flair Showcase Legacy?
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. And Bowman Chrome Refractor.
Yes, that was from Gladiator. That was Joaquin Phoenix. That was you were doing. That was the Battle of Carthage.
Okay. Yeah. Who would you want to give give a flower to? Like, who do you think is doing it well in the hobby? A business, an influencer, an account? Who do you think is doing things well? And I have one more question after this.
So what do you mean? Like, what part are they doing well? Just supporting people in the hobby?
Anything. It's an open-ended question. It could be anything. Something you saw nationally, you want to give somebody a pat on the back and say they did that the right way. Something you saw at a show, something you see online.
Okay. So I'll bring something up, which is I'm close to him, but he just, out of everybody I've met in the hobby, he just embodies like positivity and just goes out of his way even more than most people I know.
AIH.
And it's Dennis. Dennis, too legit to quit. He, I'll give you an example of something that we've talked about privately, and he's not willing to do it.
Kobe Gold Kaboom profile picture, right?
He does, yeah. He has that, but he's a huge Kobe collector. He has he's collected all the 90s inserts. So, he actually is responsible for almost everybody on IG that does a patch match to their jersey. And he's the guy that does that. And I was like, you should just charge people $5 and then people will just do it. But, he just loves it and he just enjoys it. So anytime you see like on one of the bigger collectors have like a patch from the jersey from some big window and he's matched it up, he just does it because he wants to support them. And I'm like, that's amazing. That's just one of the acts. He's done so many other ones behind the scenes. He's just like one of those guys that you want to go party with, you want to talk cards with. He's got that persona.
Cool. I love that. I actually saw, I think it was from the Burbank show. I saw a few patch matches. I think All-Star Sports 23 just got a cool Kobe Exquisite that was patch matched, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, what does a creative director do? / what does Lefko do?
Oh,
I mean,
where's Crocs?
I mean, well, Lefko, like, he represents us in different venues. Like, he offers suggestions on different things, different initiatives maybe we should take on. And so I think that honestly comes from his background of knowing what is good and what is bad. And so I would say in his role with alt, I believe honestly that's probably been some of the most valuable, because a lot of times sometimes you can over listen, and you can think that everybody, if some people are saying something that you're doing wrong, of course you want great customer service, but sometimes like you should focus on what you're doing for the greater masses. Like you need to be focused on that. And something Lefko has taught me is sometimes you just need to quiet the noise on smaller things that are not going to move the needle, and just focus on how you can build your company and your brand. So that's like some of the, like, I'm giving you an insight, but that's some of the things that Lefko has taught me.
I love Lefko. I sat next to him at a dinner at the National, and I gave him an idea, a suggestion. I said, hey, I got a suggestion for you. And he replied, you know what's funny, Cage? He says, I just presented the exact opposite idea to alt, so I'm glad, because now I feel better about it.
Well, tell us.
You
Like,
oh, man.
Confidentiality.
But yeah, I gave him an idea, and he's like, I literally just said the exact opposite thing, and we're doing the exact opposite of what you just suggested. I was like, yes.
I'm gonna do this one small plug, and then you can carry on. So we're going to be introducing a product on, I think either later this week or early next week, but you're going to have the ability to go on alt on the app, and you'll be able to search for cards across platforms.
Sick.
So that's something that we're going to bring to the platform to see if it'll be beneficial for the hobby. It's kind of hard to it's still being discussed, so that's why I didn't want to tell right this moment, but obviously eBay would be one of them for sure. But essentially on that, you're going to be able to search. You can see internal or alt assets, you can see external assets. I think it's going to be like, I hear from friends all the time, I don't know what auction is ending where and when, etc. So this would provide potentially some improvement on that, so that you know what's there.
Go old school like me, guys. Auctionreport.com. Scroll to the bottom. There's an auction calendar, and it tells you every auction that is ending.
I have. Wait, is that a joke?
I've known you for 805 episodes. You've never told me about auctionreport.com.
That's a real site?
I have told you about this. I've said it on the episode 1,000 times.
No, he hasn't.
Oh my God. I'll go find it.
This is what the old school collectors do. They keep their powder dry.
Auctionreport.com. You scroll down.
I'm going to go to it as soon as this is over.
On the bottom, there's an auction calendar that tells you every auction that's ending on there. 100%.
Is alt on there?
Nope.
All right, I'm going to have to call him.
Nope. It's got Golden. It's got PWCC. It's got everything. No alt. Does not have
they're the new kids on the block, and they're underdog. Chip on the shoulder. I took it personally. George Carl.
By the way,
I took it personal.
We can say this. PWCC is a sponsor of the show. We can throw that out there. We do a weekly show episode. They may hear that alt was just plugged on the show and terminate our contract, or maybe they won't. And I have a bet that they won't, because they're cool.
I don't think they will. And also,
they're cool like that.
I mean, I have nothing against PWCC. I actually have good friends that work at PWCC.
Of course.
So we were friends before, but I think they have a great platform.
I think if they were sitting here, what they would say is, just as Andrew has said a bunch of times on our show, the whole pie grows. It's good for all of us. You know what I mean? Everybody wants more people coming into the hobby. Everybody wants a little ease of use and get more folks in the hobby and just grow this whole thing. So I'm sure.
I agree. Look, how are you gonna get new people in? You're gonna need everybody. Like we can't just stay where we are. Like the growth rate, you guys know, this year has not been as good as last year. You know that for a fact. You don't think so?
No, I think you're 100% right. But I have the fix. We have to stop making fun of NFT people, because eventually they're gonna run out of NFT money, and just bring them in. Just open the floodgates, and they all become card people. Stop making fun of them. They'll come.
So think about this. In case you can polish this, you got Kurt's card carry.
Yeah, bring it to a close. This way I can leave.
Yes, you got to go get in. You mentioned friction is that was the number one thing. How difficult it is for someone new to get into the hobby. Well, so when Top Shot was doing its thing, I got messages from people who were not card collectors, who were like, yo, have you heard about Top Shot? This is pretty cool. So that's one. Two, Panini Direct, right? You have these digital NFTs. You don't need them graded. You don't need them shipped anywhere. You go on and you could buy or open a pack in seconds. Every card is numbered at a 299 or 1000 or 44, whatever. So it solves a lot of that friction right there for people. And it's not, do you collect cards or digital collectibles? It's, you collect cards, and some of the newer people might get into digital collectibles, and then they'll start buying tangible cards. Polish that up and then bounce cage.
Yeah, I mean, my thought is even the NFTs, even the non-sports NFTs, even not the Top Shot stuff. I mean, these are degenerates like the rest of us. And the whole NFT thing, minting an NFT, was basically opening a pack and hoping you were getting one of the rare items out of a pack. You know,
which, by the way, none of you guys have hit the Ian Pulls Fire NFT.
Yeah.
Basically would have been one of the metal boxes that Cage opened, maybe with a Giddy. Your loss, lucastigers.com. You could still mint Tigers. Don't be.
Thank you all for listening to another episode of Lucas, Tigers, and Bronzo My. I wanted to tell you about a new service that we have starting as of today, and I'm really, really excited to bring it to you guys. So, as a part of our partnership with SGC, we got 50 free submissions every single month, and many of you have taken advantage of that. And it's amazing that we could have the opportunity to 650 episodes, 675 episodes in, to go ahead and give back to our community. As people were sending those cards in, they asked, can we send 5, 10, 20 more cards to you guys? We'll pay for it, but we wanted them graded with SGC. You guys know SGC is turning cards around in 13 to 14 business days, have incredible customer service, and their secondary market values are going up day after day after day. And that's exciting for the hobby and exciting for the grading landscape. So we didn't want to just rush into it. We wanted to do it right. And what we did was I relocated here to Boca Raton, Florida. I opened up a P.O. box maybe 5 minutes away from SGC, and I will be hand delivering and hand picking up the cards. So you don't have to worry about anyone else touching your cards. It will be me, and I will update you every step of the way. So here's how it's going to work. I'm going to personally pick up the cards from a P.O. box, prep them, new card saver, new penny sleeve, and deliver them to SGC every single Tuesday. Why Tuesday? Well, it lets the stragglers over the weekend come back through on Monday and gives me a day to prep, and it basically gives SGC the entire week to work on grading those cards. Once your cards pop, only then at the end of the process will you be paying for the service. It's $25 per card, simple as that, and the turnaround times have never been faster. We're hearing right now 13, 14, less than 20 business days. So there it is. 9170 Glades Road, number 135 is the P.O. Box in Boca Raton, Florida, 33434. 9170 Glades Road, number 135, Boca Raton, Florida, 33434. Of course, you could shoot me an email or shoot me a text anytime, and I'm always available. Many of you already have my email. It's iamandrewgoldberg@gmail.com. or my cell phone number, 215-519-9154. Reach out with any questions. I could walk you through the process. I've hopped on the call with quite a few of you, and I'm happy to do that. Love you, Luka Nation.